I know. I'm sorry we can't send any
I'm
cakes
sad that I don't get any cake.
cyberspace to anybody who's listening on
Actually,
live stream.
we are so technologically advanced at Mount Saint Vincent University that we can transport cake even.
Oh, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You guys are amazing.
Yay. Hi, Les.
You should get a shirt grant for that.
I know I should, shouldn't I?
Yeah, I think everyone would want you to.
Okay, so as soon as you got, is everybody ready, my team? Okay, we're good. Do you want to help yourselves to some treats, Les? I'm so excited. I have to have.
You have to have water?
Oh, no, there's going to be giggles. So, thank you all for coming. We've to what I believe is the first for Mount Saint Vincent, and certainly for the region, the first transatlantic book launch. There's so many special people in the room today. I'm just thrilled that you could come. Thank you all very much. It means a lot to me. A special welcome to Danielle, my research partner. Her friends and colleagues at the University of Birmingham are standing outside her office door, waiting for their own treats. There's supporters in various parts of the world because we're live streaming this who have mentioned to us that they're going to be checking in. Special welcome to Helen and Jan who are joining us on their mobile phones as they go home on the trains in England. Shaf is joining us in London on his home computer. Jen is joining us via Twitter from Toronto. So welcome to them, and a special welcome to my mom and dad and grandma who are looking in on their computer in my mom and dad's living room in Boise, Idaho. Before we start, I want to send a great big, huge, and I'd say a dirty word, but I can't because this is professional, but a huge, backside thanks to Greg Pretty and Nick. The MSVU audiovisual team, Greg sat down with me about 2 months ago and I said, I'd like to do this really special book launch. And do you think we could do this? And he said, why not? So here we are. And they were here and set up before the physical room was set up. We were all set to go. So my heartfelt thanks to you guys. Tanya Harrison and the fabulous MSVU library staff, in particular Edith, who's just walked in, for arranging this. My special thanks. The Department of Communication Studies for the refreshments. Catherine Britton for making it happen. The women at the bakery at Atlantic Superstore in Bears Lake for making my cake.
Yay!
Yay! And special thank you to the love of my life for getting me here, Brent Sedo. It's my in-house editor. Many thanks, honey. The way the half hour will go is after my brief introduction, we're going to invite our special guests, Marnina Gonick and Julie Rak, who will talk with us via Skype. Danielle is going to close the presentation with words of her own. And then if there's questions, we'll field them from the audience here. And the hashtag, for those of you who are streaming in, is hashtag BTB launch, capital LAUNCH. So we'll field questions from Twitter. Are you tweeting, Krista? Yay! So
good job.
Yay! In May 2003, 10 years ago this month, can you believe it, Danielle? I had a life-changing meeting at the annual Shirk Congress, which was held here in Halifax. Some of you might remember that. For the first time, face-to-face, I met Danielle Fuller, who had been in contact with me via email on the recommendation of a woman named Carol Gerson at Simon Fraser University. She was a mutual colleague of ours. Unknown to us at that meeting, a lifelong friendship was forming. What we also didn't know was that a 10-year project was in the making. After over an afternoon meeting on Fox Point Lake, which just might have included too much sun and too much wine, we dreamed up our project called Beyond the Book. This book that's sitting over there is a result of that sun-drenched day. In it, we explore the meaning of reading in the United Kingdom, Canada, and the United States. We investigated the popularity of mass reading events such as Richard and Judy's Book Club in the United Kingdom and the CBC's Canada Reads. We also investigated community-wide reading programs or reading initiatives that encourage citizens or that encourage citizens of a city or a region to get on the same page, as it were. And they do this through a series of activities that range from bus tours to campovers. And they do this around a specially selected book. Some of you might think of One Book, Nova Scotia, or One Book, Nova Scotia, the recent reading program that was held here in our province. So from the shores of a small lake in Nova Scotia to a small cul-de-sac in Birmingham, England, we traveled to 11 different cities in Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States. We talked with more than 70 event organizers and more than 250 readers, and took part in scores of activities, from book discussions to book trips to play adaptations of the chosen books. And we collected responses from a further 3,060 readers via an online questionnaire. Our book explores the complex ideological investments made by readers, cultural workers, government agencies, and the mass media in the meaning of reading at the turn of the 21st century. While writing this book, we turned to what we called clever friends to read and comment on our arguments. One of them was Brent, who I've introduced. The other two are joining us, two of the others, and there were many, it's in the acknowledgments. Two of them are joining us today via Skype. The first one is Marnina Gonick. Professor Gonick is a Canada Research Chair in Gender. Here at MSVU, she has a joint appointment in Education and Women's Studies. With more than $1.6 million in grants, she has published 10 peer-reviewed articles in top-ranked scholarly journals and 2 chapters in edited books. She has co-edited 2 special issues of journals that take up the topic of girlhood studies. Professor Gonick is also the producer of a video project that will be developed into an online interactive multimedia project. In addition to the more than 25 presentations at scholarly conferences nationally and internationally, she also addresses audiences locally, nationally, and internationally at conferences and public events, including providing a voice for girls in the mass media, in high schools, and community organizations. I think we're lucky to have her joining us today from Winnipeg, where she is working on her video project. Marnina, do you want to take the mic?
Yeah, thanks, DeNel. It's lucky I don't have a camera on me, because you would have made me, you would have seen how red I'm turning from that introduction, but thank you very much. It was a spring day about 2 years ago, I think, in Halifax, that I sat with DeNelle eating delicious crepes at Chez Tess on Charles Street in Halifax. We were meeting to discuss the 2 draft chapters that she had given me to read of the book she was co-writing with Danielle. I don't really remember the specifics of what we discussed at the time, but what I do remember is the feeling of excitement about the project. What impressed me at the time and continues to impress me is both the scope of the work and its detailed analysis. It is, as far as I know, the first book of its kind to examine from multidimensional perspectives the phenomena of mass reading events. So what DeNelle has already described as the large-scale public events that take place at city levels, regional levels, or even national levels. And it does so from an international perspective, using material from the US, Canada, and the UK. This is a very ambitious project, I would say. No, it's no wonder It's taken some time, but it's been well worth the wait. Each of the chapters takes a different angle on these events from the perspective of different stakeholders: governments, educational institutions, publishers, the mass media, event organizers, and readers. Not surprisingly, each perspective brings different understandings of how reading and the sharing of books inscribe social power, moral value, pleasure, and community. I want to highlight for a little second what Danielle and DeNel uncover about the gender dynamics of these events and how the behind-the-scenes workers organizing these events are often women, and the cultural work that they do is often imbued with emotional labor as well as their professional skills. And I also want to note the collaborative nature of the project. I mean, not only is this a hugely ambitious project, but it's a collaborative one between Danielle and DeNel. And these kinds of, that kind of collaboration is often unacknowledged work that goes into researching and writing collaboratively. It involves, in this case, working across national borders, time zones, teaching terms, writing practices. And I'm just so impressed with how wonderfully it's all come together. So I end by congratulating DeNel and Danielle and their impressive work, and I'm so looking forward to reading the book about reading books. Thank you.
Very cool.
I remember what I had at that lunch. It was a mushroom crepe. Really, people don't. I know that we say this real quickly. We say, "Oh, our clever friends read this and commented on it," but really, other than our thank you and a copy of the book, that's what they get, and it takes a lot of time and energy out of their own schedule. So. Thank you very much, Marnina. Even you continue to give graciously of your time and your wisdom, and I'm fortunate to have you along, and we're fortunate to have her on this campus, I think. Congratulations, too, on your recent promotion to professor. Our next guest is Professor Julie Rak. Julie is a professor in the Department of English and Film Studies at the University of Alberta. She joins us today early morning in Edmonton, Alberta. Looking pretty good. Not only is Julie Danielle's life partner, she is also a very clever friend who read Reading Beyond the Book in its entirety, like Brent did, multiple times. We gained much wisdom from her insights. Julie is the author of a newly published book herself called Boom! Boom! Manufacturing Memoir in the Popular Market. Her latest book is only one of 6 others. On top of that, she's got 3 special journal issues under her belt and has penned more than 23 journal articles and book chapters. She is one of those special scholars whose expertise is truly multidisciplinary. She's an expert in autobiography, life writing, and memoir studies, in cultural studies and popular culture, in critical theory, in feminist theory, in English-Canadian literature, get this, mountaineering writing and culture, the Doukhobors, cyber culture, and book history. And I'm not kidding you. Let's turn to her now. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Yes, it's all true. All right. Well, thank you very much for asking me to be part of this lunch. I am speaking to you all from Edmonton, Alberta, where it's a beautiful sunny morning today. I'm very glad I have my coffee with me, but I'm sad that I'm not going to get any cake. That cake looks terrific. I didn't plan on saying any of this at the beginning, but I actually remember when I met DeNel and Danielle together. I had heard about them from a mutual friend because I was doing a project on publishing, and one of the problems I was having was the problems of interdisciplinary work. And really, it was a treat to meet them because and we met over Indian food, so I remember that. But it was a treat because they really did understand what it was like to do this kind of interdisciplinary work, and I felt like I had friends out there even before I met them. So it's really gratifying for me to see this project, for which they worked so hard, come to fruition in this way. And I hope that all of you have a chance to read Reading Beyond the Book. I'm going to talk a little bit about some specifics about why I think it's really special. Well, first of all, I want to say that this book is a game changer in several areas of study. One of them is reading studies. Another would be, I would say, would be history of the book, more generally, because really we're looking not only here at what reading is as an individual practice, but also, as Danielle and DeNel say, as a social practice. They use this phrase, shared reading, and in that phrase, they are talking about not just reading for yourself, but reading that works across media, where you have large communities of people reading the same book, where you really can understand how reading has gone global. And they also are very careful in their research about talking about how reading works as an industry today, like other media industries, like the television industry, for instance, or the publishing industry. Reading itself has become big business in some ways, and it's really important to look at it. Oprah Winfrey probably was a pioneer of mass reading events, which is what this book, Reading Beyond the Book, is about. That's a term that Danielle and DeNel coined themselves to talk about these big events where everybody is supposed to read the same book and interact in terms of the same book. But Oprah is the beginning. She is not the ending. One of the interesting things about this book is that it spends time on all kinds of mass reading events. You've already heard DeNel talk about some of them. The One Book, One Community programs are a good example. The UK Richard and Judy's Book Club, other kinds of mass reading events across a variety of media really deserve this kind of thoughtful attention. Let me just say a few more things about that before you all get to your cake and everything. Okay, first thing I want to say about the scholarship is it's dizzying. As you heard DeNel say, there are interviews with over 3,000 people. There's quantitative scholarship here, there is qualitative scholarship, there's in-depth interviews, there's focus groups, there's surveys across 3 countries and a plethora of regions. That in itself is an achievement. But in some social science research, you get a lot of that kind of beautiful detail, but you don't always get the big picture. You don't always get the story about why this stuff matters. Well, in this book, you do get both things. It's beautifully written. It treats its subject with passion and humor and intellectual brilliance. This book is not pretentious, and it treats the readers and also other cultural workers who work in the reading industry with the respect that they deserve. And that has not always been true historically in terms of how research has been conducted about readers. So that is really outstanding to me. If you're interested in popular culture forums and the influence of the book on contemporary life, this is something you need to read. I do think that it's a game changer. There's a couple of other reasons why I think you should read it. For instance, you get a sense of not just what mass reading events mean today, but the different chapters, and as Marnina said in this book, get at the complexity of understanding the practice of reading as intensely social. So not only do you get that sense of reader feelings and voices, but they're put into context with the industries that support them and that they are part of, right? So you get it's like you get a web of stuff. You get this web of interactive elements that create mass reading events and sustain them. So you're not looking at any one element in isolation. If Danielle and DeNel had looked at any one of the things that they look at, this would have been an achievement. But the fact that they managed to talk about reading on television, radio, they have a chapter called Money, which is about the economics of big reading events. They have a chapter called Book, which is actually about the textual work that you do. They have one called Reader, which is everything about reader experience. And and they also manage along the way to theorize neoliberalism. That's a lot. Okay, so it's really worth it to take a look at this. I also think the study is not bogged down in endless facts. It tells the story of how mass reading events came to be and exist without either romanticizing reading as this beautiful practice, like it actually is critical about it, but at the same time, it's not cynical. about what popular culture is. And as somebody who is a popular culture critic and theorist, I really appreciate that. You don't get a sense that there's that these readers who they're talking about are, not worth thinking about. It really, that kind of level of respect and detail, that's really amazing in this book. And I think that's something that a lot of people can learn from and that I have learned from. Okay, so to conclude here, I think this book is the rightful inheritor of the groundbreaking work you might have heard of by Janice Radway, Elizabeth Long, and others about what reading means to us socially. And it really brings a lot of their considerations into the 21st century. They were working mostly in the 20th when they did their first work. And so really you get a very contemporary sense of what reading means right now. I'm proud to have been associated with this project. It's true that Danielle is my partner, and so I've really had a front row seat, and I've watched Danielle and DeNel do their work, and I've just it's been such a big deal for me to get to be part of that, and I'm really grateful that I could have read any of it, and I'm glad that I read it all, and I'm sure that I'll read it again. I don't have any wine or anything because it's really early, but I have coffee, and if you have anything with you, because I can't see you, please lift a glass and celebrate this achievement with the love and respect that these authors deserve. Thank you, everybody.
Here, here. Can somebody tweet our friend, another clever friend, Claire Squire? She's on there, and raise a glass to her too, because she too is one person who read with us. But nobody has read the manuscript as many times or as carefully, I might say, as Julie Rak. Brent was our expert in-house editor. Julie helped along those lines, but gave us the intellectual rigor that we knew that we needed from our professional side. So many thanks, Julie. We love this project for many reasons.
Me too.
Next up, I would like to introduce Danielle Fuller, the world's greatest research partner.
Oh, no pressure there. Thank you. Hello, people in Halifax. It's strange because I can just see a blank. I can see a window and the poor trees with no leaves on. Yeah. Oh, good. Now I can see
Look!
Hey,
Look at everybody.
Oh, that's great. Hi. And also, some of my colleagues are actually sitting in their rooms at their computers, and then are going to join me in the corridor shortly. And a few people out there who are listening to live stream, thank you for hanging in there. I'm not going to keep people for much longer. I wanted to add a few of my own thank yous. The original research that we did was, as I think Marnina and Julie have both implied, clearly more than just two people could do. And so many people actually did the research with us, but primarily Anouk Lang and Anna Burrells, who were part of our original team, should be mentioned. And beyond that, there's many other people who are thanked in the acknowledgements, but we had many people at various points along the way with us, without whom we could not have done that huge amount of data gathering or then proceeded to do any analysis with it. So that was great. On a more local level, though, I just wanted to sort of thank my most immediate colleagues in the Department of American and Canadian Studies, who were always very enthusiastic about this project, even when it made me maybe sometimes not as available as I might have been, and several of whom did read parts of the work, including my colleague James Walters, who I think is listening to the live streaming. So I wanted to mention him especially. And also the wonderful Max Conway, who's our office manager, who kind of runs us, really, and who has also helped me put together the little tea party that's going to happen in our corridor after we finish. So I guess just to kind of finish up in a way, I wanted to say that really it's been a blast, even though it was a crazy thing to do as a project in some ways. But I think we got a tremendous amount out of it, both intellectually. I mean, there's nothing quite as exciting as being questioned by someone whose training is very different to yours. whose skill set complements yours and from whom you learn so much. So I've learned a huge amount from working with DeNel, and I think we've influenced each other in all sorts of ways, some of which we've written about actually, and others which we probably haven't even acknowledged ourselves yet. Just studying readers and reading and what we call the reading industry is an endlessly fascinating topic. And because we work in the 21st century, it's a constantly evolving one. So as reading and the sharing of reading moves on to multiple platforms and through multiple media, it's kind of changing all the time. But one of the things I think that really stands out from our research is the value to many keen readers of face-to-face encounters. And I think that for those people who feel panicked about the demise of the codex book, that is the material kind of object of the book, which is being gradually replaced by its digital version on hardware such as e-readers and smartphones and tablets, I think my reassuring note, or the reassuring message that DeNel and I have for those people who worry about the kind of future of the book is that in terms of the future of shared reading, it's very vibrant on and offline. And those things coexist, they're coextensive, one does not replace the other. And I actually think that things will continue to evolve, and the relationship between online and offline sharing of reading experiences will evolve in ways we can't predict at the moment. But the sort of intense pleasure that many readers derive from meeting together with each others and with hanging out with strangers, as we like to kind of describe it, which is what happens at a lot of these large-scale events, includes things like the feeling that people make temporary connections with other people that they don't know, feelings of belonging to a community that becomes physically realized for them, where they have the chance to attend an event or participate in a book-related activity. And these feelings are really very profound. And maybe one of the things that surprised me most from our research, that people were actually found it deeply satisfying to be part of a community, however briefly or ephemerally that was. So I think, in a very kind of fast-paced, multi-mediated world, that is something that's profoundly social and profoundly human, that kind of intimacy and sense of connection with others that people are still looking for, and which many readers, who of course are often characterized as rather solitary and possibly even introspective people, nevertheless, they highly value the chances to mingle with, meet with, talk with, listen to others. So that's kind of what I really want to say, except for anyone out there who hasn't recommended this book to their librarian yet, please order it for your library. You can do it by clicking on the link from our webpage, www.beyondthebookproject.org, or you can go straight to Routledge and search for Reading Beyond the Book, and there's a recommend it to your librarian feature there. I am shameless about this kind of promotion because I used to work in book publishing, so that kind of never leaves you. So thank you all very much for coming today, both in Halifax and in Birmingham, and also for those of you that joined us for the live streaming. This is going to be recorded, and it will be available on our website at a fairly future date, or immediate date, I should say. And yeah, so thank you very much, and please, I hope you enjoy reading the book, and that you all agree with me that shared reading is a social practice with a future. The end.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Danielle. Yay. I didn't see any questions on Twitter. Do you guys see any? So do you guys have any questions while we have them on the line, or is everybody wanting to have cake? It looks like it's cake.
Cake.
Sorry. Okay.
Don't worry.
Many thanks, Marnina, Julie, Danielle. Go and celebrate. I wish that we could be together to celebrate, but we'll see each other next month. So
Yay.
Thank you all very, very much for everything that you've put into today. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Excellent, don't you think? We know it's been a long time coming, this project. When I put in a grant proposal for the Atlantic Canada Communications Research Lab, there was money in there for web conferencing. I think I had proposed something like $10,000. And this project, we've been using pretty much Skype for our weekly meetings. So I acknowledge in the book the founders of Skype and raise a glass to them. So it's served us well. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Please feel free to mingle if you have time. And we've got treats back there. We've got the cake we can cut. I can answer any questions. The books are all spoken for, but the publisher has sent a 20% off coupon if you feel like buying a $100 book. Please feel free to, but we've got librarians in the room who will take care of any orders, I'm sure, for the catalog. Yes, very good. I much appreciate it, much appreciate it. Librarians, if you haven't noticed, or those of you who don't know me, they're very special in my life. So I appreciate everything. And this room is such a brilliant room to kick this book off, I think. So thank you all. Please enjoy.